Joining me today is Carl Dessens. He's with our technical support department. I myself am Columbus Cali. And today we're going to go through and we're going to start talking about some of our electric pallet jack options as far as charging and maintaining whilst on the trailer. So we'll go ahead and get started. So if you're unfamiliar with our pallet jack charging system, uh, what it is it's designed to utilize the truck to charge the pallet jack batteries while it's in transit. Um, there is some caveats to it, which we'll get to as we progress through this. But before we get too carried away, and I know it's a little soon, but I wanted to start it off with a poll question. Um, so, what would you say out of your fleet that you're working with? How many of those are fitted with electric pallet jacks, or uh, how many carry electric pallet jacks on a daily basis, or you might have in your warehouse that you're looking to transition over into trailers? Give you guys a couple minutes or a couple seconds, I suppose, to go through and select your answer there, and then we'll carry on.
Columbus, this is a technology that's been out there a little while.
It is. It's been out there, and a lot of times it just kind of slides underneath the radar of some of those that may not have ever needed it or have ran into issues throughout the past and not known that there was an outlet that they could be utilizing to help them out. Um, but I'm looking forward to this one. All right, so looks like a fair amount, kind of scattered all over, of the use cases, for electric pallet jacks. Um, but that's good to see.
So it looks like the largest population is 10 or less that we have on the call today. So hopefully what we see is we're going to give you more information here.
Absolutely. So now how the tap system is going to work. So it's again going to be utilizing the power that's going to be coming from your tractor uh, through the dual pole outlet there on the front, and it's going to convert that DC energy into AC energy towards the rear of the trailer to allow compatibility for your electric pallet jacks to be charged during transit. Um, Now, with it only being able to give that big charge when the tractor is in motion, or it's going from point A to point B, we do have a variant that will allow it to charge off the liftgate batteries should your trailer or fleet be equipped with lift gates as well. Um, and there's really no chance that it could turn around and drain your truck batteries or your liftgate batteries with the safety implementations that we've made throughout the years, and kind of fine tuning this to the degree where it's at now, which we'll get into going forward as well.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing now is our traditional configuration when we're running off of 53-foot trailers typically. Um, Again, utilizing that power consumption coming from the truck batteries themselves through that dual pole outlet, and it's a fairly simple installation when you get into the means of it, and you have some different applications where you could turn around and install this to the interior of the trailer or underneath. And then we also have a straight truck configuration, uh, which again is going to be just pulling power straight from the batteries of your straight truck, and still being able to provide that 110 power towards the rear.
Now, the one thing on this too, with the straight truck as well as with our tractor trailer combinations, we do have a low voltage disconnect that Columbus was referring to here just a minute ago. So once those batteries reach 12.4 volts or 11.9, depending on the system, our system will shut off, so it won't continue to charge and drain your batteries. That's the nice part about it.
but it also gives you that extra amount of time. May not be hours and hours, but it gives you that amount of time from when you shut the truck off. It's going to continue to charge and kind of give you that extra little umph to kind of get those batteries topped off to where they need to be if you're working with short travels.
Yeah.
And this is another one of the configurations that we have, like I was mentioning before, where it has the ability to be able to pull power off of the liftgate batteries. Now, where this shines most is when it's coupled with one of our liftgate charging systems. So whilst the truck is charging your liftgate batteries are then in turn charging your electric pallet jack. And again, it still has that extend kind of charging function to where it's going to be able to charge down to the 12.4 or 11.9, again, depending on the configuration that you go with or that you have currently. Now, this kind of trickles over into our next poll question. So what percentage of your fleet is actually utilizing a TAPS or a pallet jack charging system? We'll give you some time to go through and answer this before we carry on.
So do you have less than 25% of the trucks we talked about earlier? Between 26 and 50%, more than 50, or you're not using an electric pallet jack, excuse me, or TAPS? Got about half you guys in, so we're gonna wait just a little more. Okay.
Okay, so it's pretty fair, even across the board. Either 25% or less are not using or are using, and then there's 50 or so percent that aren't using at all.
So,
but this will kind of help us as we transition into explaining more about this and some of the benefits that it can provide for you, for those that aren't using it, and for those that are using it but still may have some questions. So, how the TAPS works, all right, and this is kind of reiterating what we were stating and explaining before. So there is going to be a 110 AC receptacle mounted towards the rear of the trailer. Typically, it's going to remain about 3 foot or so off of the rear door there, which kind of puts it in a reasonable spot to where it's going to allow you to go ahead and stack that trailer, park your electric pallet jack towards the rear, and still have ease of access to plugging it in to get it charging. Now, we utilize a 12 gauge GXL cable there so that it's able to withstand that amperage draw that it's going to be required to get those pallet jack batteries charging. And that all kind of goes back to the bronze of the operations, which is going to be our 1500 watt pure sine inverter that's going to be housed in a stainless steel case. Again, either going to be mounted towards the front of the trailer or underneath, depending on your use case. And it's got that Dynabalance technology in there. So what that means is that it's programmed to a point to where it's going to be looking at where those batteries are going to be once the truck is shut off, and being able to pull power and utilize that at a means that's going to be able to get it to where it needs to be.
And another function of that with the Dynabalance is the surge you get when you first turn one on. You're going to see that amperage rating go up, which is where we have that basically a 3,000 surge for a 1,500 watt inverter.
Absolutely. And then kind of going through, we utilize 1-aught DC cables. That's going to be the ones that's going to be either connected to your dual pole outlet, if you're running this off of the dual pole, or going to your liftgate batteries or going to your straight truck batteries. That's put in line so that we make sure that no matter how much draw is coming through there, you're not running into any bottlenecks before it hits going from point A to point B, and that being batteries to the inverter itself.
Now, the one thing about this too is the battery cables that come with it, the only length we do have available are in 20 feet. So if you're not needing as much, you need to cut them off. So that's something to remember as you're running through and looking at your specs.
Absolutely, and we wanted to do it that way so it could be a one size kind of fits all, because every make and manufacturer, every mounting position could be different in a sense, whether interior, exterior mounting. So we want to make sure that everybody is catered to in that way, and it's much easier to cut some off than to add some on. So that it would be, what we want to make sure. Okay, now the AC receptacle that we do provide with our tap systems does have a power indicator light on there. So should anything fault out, should you question, whether or not it isn't getting power to it, or you may have questions of, installation errors, that power indicator light on there is going to be a good identifier, telling you yay or nay if you've got good power going back there.
One thing about this too, you're going to see more GFI outlets. Pretty much all our products are changing over to those on the inside. Right. So during the year, we're going to be transitioning, using up the existing inventory. But by the end of 2024, everything that comes from our factory or from our plant is going to have that GFCI outlet with it.
Right. Just going ahead and adding into that extra layer of protection and safety that we never want to fall short on. Now, down to the brass tacks. Out of all of those that are using electric pallet jacks, how often would you say that you are running into service calls due to, dead batteries on your pallet jack or anything related in that department? Would you say that you're running into 10 or fewer, 10 or more, or even 25 more or more related incidents where you're having to have road calls come out just due to dead pallet jack batteries during any sort of engagement with your customers?
I was going to say, not just engagement with the customers, but with your drivers as well, because that is a safety item with them pulling heavy loads on the pallet.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if, everybody has experience, but if you go trying to pull around a dead electric pallet jack, it's a little bit harder than just traditional roll-arounds.
All right, looks like pretty much everybody's there. So looks like we've had some dead batteries, either 10 or less.
10 or less, but I mean, that's still something. That's still having issues that we might be able to help mend. So we're going to go ahead and carry on, and then I'm going to turn it over to Carl to talk a little bit more on troubleshooting for those that may have some questions or concerns, with a system like this.
And guys, this system is very easy to work with. Most of the people that we deal with and we've talked with don't necessarily have the right input voltage. So we have to have at least 13.2 volts going into that inverter before our system's even going to turn on. We mentioned earlier we have two low voltage disconnects, one being 12.4 volts, another being 11.9. So they're going to shut that off as well to make sure we save the battery voltage. Now, here's the thing. When that controller sees that set voltage for 30 seconds, that's when it shuts off. We can't have an input voltage of higher than 16 volts, or once again, a safety feature where it's not going to allow the inverter to be damaged. Checking the input voltage is very simple. The one thing that we don't see with this picture here is normally we have plastic covers, safety covers, over the positive and negative. So those may have to be removed before you get there. So right now, like I said, black and red just have to be above 13.2 volts there, making sure that our system is good. Then if I have a green light on my AC side of my two lights up there, then that tells me that I should be having an output. So we can go inside the box here and we can go off the white and the black wire and make sure that we're anywhere between 104 and 126 volts AC power. You don't want to go to the white because this system has what's called a floating ground, or that ground is actually not connected inside of that inverter. So this is what we want to do here, is always be going off your two spades, or in this case, the black and white wire. So you see here is our indicators, and the AC power light is there on the top. So green says, hey, we're good, we're ready, we've got some output. Orange is saying the unit's not producing power right now. And then we get into our fault lamp, and that's what we're going to spend a little more time going over here, whether it be under voltage, over voltage, over power, temperature, or if there's some kind of a fault going on. So once I said AC power, solid green light, I've got a good input, so I should see output there to the inside of that trailer. Now, when I do get that amber light for there, that's telling us that the voltage is below 12.4. Now, before it's going to turn on, I have to reach that 13.2 volts again. So once it's shut off, it's not an automatic, I'm going to kick back on. I have to reach that threshold before my system itself will turn back on. And once again, that's 13.2 volts. Under voltage. So this is a solid orange light on my fault. And what that tells us is that our input voltage is below 9.5 volts. So your batteries are low. You're not, if we're just drawing off the liftgate batteries, or if we're in a straight truck application, or what we're seeing from the dual pole connection up front is below that 9.5. So in this case, it's probably going to be, test and or replace batteries, may charge them.
Either that, or go through and double check all your connections, both inside the dual pole or in your liftgate battery box or on your straight truck. And again, I know that a lot of you have heard this over the years, those that continue to watch our webinars. We talk a lot about corrosion, and if you have corroded batteries or corroded battery lugs, anything that comes in contact with, producing or transferring voltage, green is never good in that department. So make sure that we get those shine back up and put any kind of protected sealant on there should you find it.
Yep. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Over voltage fault. So what that's telling us is our input is over 16 volts. So in this case, if I do have a liftgate charging system, I need to look at it to make sure I'm not overcharging my batteries, because that's exactly what will end up happening. Even if it's in the truck, I can have another issue there. And like I said there, that fault light is going to be flashing when you do see that. Over power. So what that's telling us is there's something in that pallet jack or in that outlet that's actually exceeding the 1500 watts of power. And so what you want to do there, make sure everything on the inside is good, double check. In this case, if it's a GFCI, we're probably going to be tripped. But at the same time, the overpower tells us if there is an issue relating to the output of that unit itself. Over temperature, basically we don't see this a lot, but what we have here is a flashing light. And what that's telling us is the temperature in the inverter. So inside that inverter that's in the stainless steel case has reached 149 degrees or higher. And with that being 149, we're trying to reduce the factors that can damage that inverter. So it's going to shut itself off, allow it to cool back down, get to the 13.2 volts again, and that unit should start working again. Now, one of the biggest things we're starting to, or we've seen a few, not a lot, is when we have both green lights. So I have a green light on the AC power and a green light on the fault. What we're seeing there is our controller's getting stuck in that startup cycle. Usually on a startup cycle, I reach 13.2, I see kind of a whitish light. It goes off. Then I see the green. Then it goes off, and then I should see one on AC power. If I've got a fault, I'll see something there. So with some, occasionally we see I've got two green lights. At this point, your best bet is to contact Purkeys, our customer support. We're going to run through, verify some voltages with you, just to make sure. The whole point when we're doing this is trying to reduce your troubleshooting time where you're having to go back and forth. As you saw today with our troubleshooting that we saw, pull the screws out of the box, and most of my troubleshooting is right there. Just verifying that I have voltage and going on to the next system. So at this point, do we have any questions that have arisen out of this presentation that we can assist you with? You know, Columbus, what have you seen with your customers out there as far as taps?
So when it comes down to taps, I've seen a lot of stuff in some LTL, a lot of final mile stuff, and the applications or the utilization of the tap system kind of varies across the board. You know, though the taps or the trailer auxiliary power system was designed to charge and protect pallet jack batteries, it is realistically a universal application. So let's say, for instance, that you are, needing to hook up a heat gun or charge a couple power drills or utilize power drills or a microwave or something like that. We have certain customers that have used the taps for roll tarps,
okay.
And we've also seen them for heating elements on tops of trailers.
Okay.
Now, though all of that works out great in the end, it is one of those things that it is not bound by a certain use case, and they can be very universal to a lot of applications.
Okay.
We do have a lot of major fleets that love utilizing the tap system, just because it not only assists them or assists their drivers and gives them that reassurance that, hey, when I get to my first stop or my last stop, I'm going to have juice in this pallet jack to get me through and see me home.
It's going to work. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And then it also will free up some warehouse space should you decide that you want to keep those pallet jacks stationary in the trailers.
All right. Good deal. One thing to remind you guys, if you will, hang on to this, complete the survey. There's a survey afterwards. So if you will, stay with your slides. It won't take very long, but you'll be able to go through and answer a few questions. If you do have further questions, just like you were told up front, go ahead and submit them. We will do our best. One of the two of us will try to get back to you to be able to answer anything you have.
Absolutely.
And for now, guys, I do believe that we are done. So we want to appreciate you taking the time to go over this with us. Like I say, there's not a lot there with the system, but just some basic checks. So at this point, we are going to conclude this webinar, and once again, stay on the slide so you can go through your questionnaire, and we very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Have a great day.